Hello, viewers. Welcome to another live stream rebuttal. This time, I'm going to be looking at Governing Body Update number 8, which was hosted by Stephen Lett. Unlike Stephen Lett, I have a co-host. It's lovely to welcome back Amanda. How are you, Amanda?
Doing well, Lloyd. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. And I'm loving the merch that you're representing there, which you actually designed. You designed that. That's, yeah.
Yeah, in MS Paint. Yep.
The infamous words of David Splaying, where he literally went full-on controlling maniac in the middle of a talk and just said, accept it.
You must accept it.
Yeah. Don't be persuaded. Don't be reasoned with. Just accept what I'm saying. So, okay. Anyway, we have Governing Body Update number 8, and there's, if I'm not mistaken, 16 plus minutes to troll through. So I suggest we get stuck straight in. Roll the first clip, as they say elsewhere on the channel. Let's do it.
Dear brothers, sisters, faithful children, and interested ones.
Faithful children, not unfaithful children. We're not interested in talking to the unfaithful children.
Those unfaithful children, Lloyd.
Damn you.
Talk to those people.
It's just avert your gaze, unfaithful children.
Just go away. It's already strange that he's even addressing children here, because you would think he would just address their parents, considering the subject matter we're just about to get into.
Yeah. Also, has he now ditched his young ones thing? Surely it should be faithful young ones. Maybe he's so tired of getting ribbed about saying young ones all the time that he's now started saying children.
The next words out of his mouth are literally interested ones.
True. Yeah, that'll have to be the next t-shirt.
It is a great pleasure to be with you for this update. We have many good things to share with you, including an update on our response to several major natural disasters. And at the end of this update, it will be a privilege to share with you our reassuring year text for 2022. To begin, though, I have some important facts about COVID-19 vaccines to share with you.
He's using the word facts, remember that.
Because we love you all very much. And because this is a life and death matter, we have decided to share what we know about this with you. Since June 1st, in the United States, 1,407 publishers have been hospitalized because of COVID-19 or its symptoms. Of these, less than 1% were fully vaccinated. Sadly, in that same time period in the United States, 486 of our brothers died from COVID-19. Of these, less than 1% were fully vaccinated. And our understanding is that the vaccinated individuals who died had serious underlying health problems.
So, okay, those are some interesting numbers. Did he say that from June 1st? So let's just kind of say it like it is. He's giving us numbers post-vaccine availability. Because if he were to give us numbers from the beginning of the pandemic, it wouldn't really be relevant to vaccines. He's very keen to talk about vaccines. And in that context, June 1st is relevant because, presumably in most countries in most countries, vaccines will have been available from June 1st onwards. So that's the relevance of these figures. Mm-hmm. And he seems to be in a generous mood for sharing stats because he's not satisfied that enough people are taking vaccines. Am I misreading this?
No, that's absolutely, that's totally what I get from this, is that they're trying to, I don't know if there's maybe paranoia amongst the witnesses. Maybe some of the anti-vax rhetoric has infiltrated the congregations. I'm not sure, but he is definitely trying to smooth over that whole hornet's nest and be kind of pro-vax here, which, kudos. but I don't think that that's really his agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like this is a situation where the previous leadership of this organization have not done the current leadership any favors. So the previous leadership have, number one, put out material dismissing vaccines and saying that they don't work or whatever. We're talking like in the era of the golden age and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And also, not just previous leaders, but the current leadership have put out generally anti-science material saying, here's what scientists are saying, but what do they know? On this issue, namely evolution, we know better. So it feels like a culture has developed within the Jehovah's Witness religion of knowing better than scientists. And that's a fertile anti-vaxxer breeding ground, isn't it? So they're reaping now this bumper crop of science deniers in this, which is hurting them in this specific area where they need their followers to take the vaccine to stop them dying disproportionately, which we learned in a leaked letter is happening. So they've admitted in their own leaked announcements, which I didn't do a video on, but trust me, they did. They said, we notice that the number of deaths in Jehovah's Witnesses is higher than that of the general population, and they offered no explanation as to why, but clearly they are desperate to keep their religion going, and they don't have a religion if they don't have followers, if their followers are dropping like flies.
Yeah, and they're also just desperate to paint themselves as being more reliable than scientists, as we're going to see.
Absolutely. Thank you so much as well to the super chats coming through. We have ta-da, great job, Lloyd. Expose those hypocrites. I will do my very best with Amanda's help. And we also had some super chats previously from Nicole. Thank you very much indeed. And from Cody B. Wonderful. We don't have producer Bob today, but we will do our very best. And I apologize in advance if I don't catch all of the super chats. I'm just going to, at the very least, flash them up on screen. And I'm hoping we'll do a viewer invasion later. But if nothing else, I'll try and get a few comments represented. So let's carry on.
These statistics are very sobering.
Ding.
We can also tell you that of more than 22,000 Bethelites and 44,000 special full-time servants in the field who have been vaccinated, we have received only 4 reports of severe adverse reactions that may be linked to the vaccination. But thankfully, it's been reported that all of these are stable and their condition is under control. We share this information with you so you can carefully consider it when making your personal decision regarding vaccination. We feel it would not be loving to withhold these facts from you.
So it wouldn't be loving to withhold certain facts. I can think of other facts that they're withholding in a very unloving way, such as the death toll from Jehovah's Witnesses who have died refusing blood.
Yeah, or their double standards. The Mexico Malawi scandal and what happened there.
I'd love to know how many child abusers they're keeping on their database. There's a stat that it would be very loving for them to divulge.
To reveal, yes.
Yes. But yet, what they're doing is it's very interesting. It's a very interesting balancing act, because with the leaked vaccine letter, they basically said to Bethelites, yes, it's a personal choice, but really it isn't. If you're not taking the vaccine, why aren't you? We're limited in how we can use you if you don't take the vaccine, or however they put it. And for the rank and file, they're not putting their foot down as much, because quite frankly, I don't think the rank and file matter as much to them. Bethel is where it's at. Bethel is the pipeline for spiritual food that they're trying to protect. With the rank and file, they can have a different message where it's still all about personal choice, but yes, you have your personal choice, but when you're making your personal choice, this is the information we want you to consider.
I think it's strange that they labor over it being a personal choice here too, especially where there are governments that are starting to mandate the vaccine or setting up certain rules that you can't do certain activities unless you've been vaccinated. So, I mean, easily there's the scripture of paying back Caesar's things to Caesar and God's things to God. You have to obey the government. So why they are laboring so much on like, it's your personal decision is kind of odd, considering they really could bring the hammer down like they have for other things. But it's because I feel like this is like relatively inconsequential to them that they're able to be so like, we don't control you. It's your personal decision. And here are the facts. We're being super transparent right now because this isn't something that they can really hang themselves with like they can with other stats, like the child abuse database that they're hiding.
It all, I think, as well ties in with the blood thing because technically speaking, it should be a personal decision as to whether a Jehovah's Witness refuses a blood transfusion. It's
Absolutely.
just that in reality it isn't, because you can be disassociated and shunned if you do take a blood transfusion. So thank you for Tony Morris is very generously in a different currency than you would expect. Provided a super chat. So thank you so much, Tony. And wherever you are at the moment around the world, we hope you're managing to stay out of harm's way and relatively sober. Let's press on with the update.
As Proverbs 3:27 says, do not withhold good from those to whom you should give it. We know it can be difficult to make a wise decision when there are various opinions and conflicting reports that the world provides, perhaps making it hard to know what to believe. But the aforementioned statistics have been collected by our brothers. So we can trust these figures.
We can trust any information that comes from the organization, but everything outside of the organization is a hot mess. That seems to be the message.
And of course, Watchtower has never given us conflicting information that makes making a wise decision difficult. Never. There wasn't the 1975 thing. There wasn't the whole Rutherford flip-flop on the sheep and the goats twice. Nothing confusing. Not the locusts in Joel chapter 2.
No conflicting information there when it comes to new light from the faithful slave. Oh, good grief. So infuriating.
We hope they will be useful to you. We appreciate that this is not a scientific study, but we can tell you what our brothers have observed. And because we have this information, we want you to know what we know.
We want you to know what I'm sure that, you know what? I've said this a few times. The stuff that gets covered on this channel is surely the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg when it comes to how evil and corrupt this organization is. I would give a great deal to know a fraction of what this man knows. This guy will know some real horror stories. And here he is telling Jehovah's Witnesses, look, we just want you to know what we know. I don't think you do, though, do you, Stephen? I think it's in your interests to keep people in the dark about a great deal of things that you know.
Absolutely. And it's also, it also portrays a lack of caring when he's like, this is a life and death decision, whether or not you're taking this vaccine. And here we are giving you observations that aren't based on science so that you can make this very important life and death decision that also affects those around you who aren't even like in our brotherhood. It seems like it's just incredibly unreliable information. I mean, anybody can make observations about something. So if he's giving you just mere observations to base such an important decision on, I don't know, just the whole thing strikes me as kind of ridiculous.
Tony Morris says, I am in Dubai on holidays. No alcohol here. Okay, that makes sense, actually. And Joel says, why is Lett impersonating Arthur? Good question. Good question. Or it could be the other way around, maybe. Let's proceed with the update.
Of course, we also need to consider the direction provided by the superior authorities. In some lands, governments are enacting laws that all their citizens must be vaccinated. In other lands, it is strongly encouraged. How do we react to such direction? The Remain in God's Love book made a fine point when it said this: today, Jehovah allows governments to have some authority, and we should respect them. They organize countries and communities so that they function smoothly and provide people with necessary services. Christians obey the instruction found at Romans 13, 1 through 7. We respect the superior authorities and obey the laws of the country or community where we live. These laws may affect our family, business, or possessions.
Wouldn't it be great if they actually lived up to those words when it comes to child abuse?
Absolutely.
Yeah. When it comes to COVID, oh, well, we've got to listen not just to the laws, not just to actually, it would be against the law for you to do this or not do this, but to listen to strong guidance or to any kind of guidance from the superior authorities relating to COVID. Apparently, Jehovah's Witnesses should listen to that. But when the Australian government says you should join a redress scheme to make sure survivors of abuse get taken care of, they get to put their hands over their ears and say, la, 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 we can't hear you, until the 11th hour when they're dragged kicking and screaming because the Australian government threatens to take their charitable status away.
Yeah, they get to look for every loophole when it's something like that. When it's something that's going to affect their pocketbook, they can look for every loophole imaginable, right up to, right up to the last minute. Yeah.
I would love it if they actually applied this in every area, but it's always going to be selective. In the case of the pandemic, this is something that directly threatens the governing body because they are the demographic most at risk from the pandemic. So all of a sudden, they're taking this stuff seriously.
Also, the study note on Romans 13:5 says this: a Christian submits to human governments when a command does not contradict God's laws.
J.W. branded
So this
stationery.
is another serious fact.
What's that, sorry?
J.W. branded stationery. He's not even reading from the How to Remain in God's Love book, which
it's the card, is it? He's got the card. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's J.W. branded stationery. I know that's not that big of a deal, but if you're talking about an organization that is taking money from people with meager provisions, as he's going to mention later, you shouldn't be spending money on branded stationery. That is a huge waste of your money. I know it's again, that card costs 10 cents. I understand.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking about ordering however many, it's such a frivolous small thing. Jehovah's, the average rank and file witness doesn't have this kind of thing in their home for themselves, customized stationery. Anyway.
No, I think it's a valid point. Like you're saying, we're possibly talking about infinitesimally small amounts of money, in relation to the overall spend of the organization for them to have those particular cards for the show. But that it's still an amount of money that will mean a great deal to impoverished families who are being told in the September broadcast, you should even donate if you're in the poor range, So, it's a valid point. Thank you, by the way, to Austrian Wolf for your super chat. Very kind.
Does not contradict God's laws. So this is another serious factor that we each should carefully and prayerfully consider in making our decision. As a result of having over 99% of the United States Bethel family fully vaccinated, we have been able to open up more activities within Bethel in accord with New York state regulations. This allowed the Bethel family
30
to
television
have the
sets in
Gilead
this
meal
room,
together,
in this panning shot.
and then the Gilead
30.
graduation together.
What did you say? 30 television sets.
30 television sets in that panning shot there, and everybody has wine at their table. I mean, you don't see necessarily a bottle at every table, but there's definitely at least a few bottles of wine in there, and it's clear that they're having like this multi-course meal because they're having like bread rolls and salad.
Yeah,
You know,
I think they do get a bit sloshed for the Gilead meal. If memory serves, I think there's a different rule applies slightly for the Gilead meal. Yeah.
and let's also just remember that this is taking place on September 11th. Like, we're going to get on in this, and there's an event that takes place in August 14th that, like, really they shouldn't be necessarily shelling out this much just less than a month later. Anyway, we should.
Amanda does her homework, viewers. Amanda really looks into these things, including counting TV sets. So, top marks, Amanda.
And then the Gilead graduation on September 11. No guests from outside Bethel were present for either occasion. Also, fully vaccinated Bethel family members in the United States have received permission to take personal time to visit family and friends, taking proper COVID-19 precautions while away from Bethel. In fact, as of September 24, over 3,975 fully vaccinated Bethel family members in the United States have traveled during August and September.
That is a piece of information I didn't
Upon
need.
their return to Bethel, they're put on a form of adjusted quarantine, and a few days later are tested for COVID-19. Of these 3,975, we have had just 4 COVID cases. 2 got mild cases of COVID at their destination, and it resolved before they returned to Bethel. The other 2, who tested positive on return, also had minor symptoms that quickly resolved. All 4 have.
That's like that could be like something that Arnold Schwarzenegger says in like a "They were resolved." is that like
It won't be back.
is that like a way of saying that they died or were executed in some way?
Right.
I'm sure
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sure that's not what he means, but it just makes me laugh.
Fully recovered. We're happy to report that this arrangement will soon go into effect for our Bethelites at most branches around the world. We're able to do this at branches where more than 90% of the Bethel family are fully vaccinated.
That kid in the middle does not look happy to be there.
Those branches are getting
Hang on.
branches where more than 90% of the Bethel family.
He just
kid?
looks really dejected. You see the guy.
Oh, the guy. Oh, yeah. It's not a happy bunch, is it?
No.
Yeah, your man in the light grey suit looks particularly pissed off. Something
Yes.
is
It's just like
something is
really?
grinding his gears. Yeah. Yeah, ugh. Why? Minimal effort has gone into this, hasn't it? You know, you'd think that they pick a shot where people look happy, but they can't even find a shot where Bethelites look happy. These are Bethelites. They're in
No.
God's house.
Yeah, they all look like exhausted and like they just don't want to be there.
Yeah. Oh, good grief.
Are fully vaccinated. Those branches are getting back into a
It's like a
more
token
normal
dude in the kitchen.
routine.
Central Europe, that'll be Selters. Lots of empty seats.
But now we have a brief update about how our brothers are doing after recent natural disasters in Haiti and in the United States.
And now for something completely different. We're just going to completely change tack.
Here comes the change of
From-
subject.
Coronavirus to earthquakes. Yeah, that was strange. I mean, you would think that an organization that has perfected the art of manipulation over a number of years now would at least have more impressive, from having multiple branches to choose from, you would think they would have perfected the art to the extent where they can show more impressive footage from the branches.
Agreed.
I'm not looking at any of those branches and thinking, wow, I want to be there, you know?
Yeah, like what love is being shown here. Yeah, no, likewise.
As reported in JW News, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake
JW
struck
News.
Haiti on Saturday, August 14.
Yeah. By the way, 7.2, having experienced a 6, I can imagine what a 7's like. And Haiti, I've not been to Haiti, I've been to the Dominican, and I have an idea in my head of the conditions there, and I can imagine there being lots of structures without reinforced concrete. And I've seen footage of what happened in the earthquake. So I can imagine the devastation. I don't really appreciate this idea of, as reported on JW News. Don't you mean as reported on the news?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's almost like the implication is, JW News is ahead of the game here. They're really spearheading this information and putting it out into the world,
And now we go to our JW News correspondent on the ground in Haiti. Oh, don't be silly. No one's getting their information from there. It's, irritating.
Sadly, 3 witnesses died as a result. Our hearts go out to the families of these ones. The branch office recently provided this report.
What about everyone else that died?
What about like just sparing even a thought for the families, like a prayer? Like we should pray for these families. Ideally, it would be like we're in contact with these families to get them some grief counseling or something like that. But if they're not going to do that, which I know that those expectations are far too high for Watchtower, or for me to have of Watchtower. But a prayer you would think would be appropriate here, but no, nothing. He just moves right along on the next thing on his teleprompter.
Yeah, our heart. I'm reading this off the teleprompter. Our hearts go out. Oh, okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Because bear in mind, we literally had. You'll probably remember this, Amanda. We literally had at the Powerful by Faith convention, was it William Malenfant offer condolences to a fictional character in a dramatization?
Yes. I don't even know if that was the first time that's happened, where they've related somehow to somebody in a dramatization and tried to feel emotions for this character that doesn't actually exist.
It's not even a real death. Yeah. And they extended condolences. So if they're extending condolences to made up people, what does that tell us about the condolences to real people? And again, more people died in the Haiti earthquake than just Jehovah's Witnesses. So why don't we talk about those deaths as well? Why are people insignificant unless they're Jehovah's Witnesses when a disaster strikes?
Yeah. I mean, there is even a precedent in the Bible for the Jehovah's Witnesses to say that we care about the world. John 3:16, for God loved the world so much he gave his only begotten son. Like, what is Watchtower doing? They're not even mentioning the death toll on people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, people who they are saying that they love and are trying to save by bringing them into their organization. It's all very manipulative and double standardy.
Jimmy B says, who cares about the 2,500 worldly that died as a result of the Haiti earthquake?
Great point, Jimmy.
Let's continue.
On the relief efforts. The earthquake destroyed approximately 130 of the homes where our brothers were living.
Our brothers.
And damaged another 250. On Monday, August 16, 2 days after the earthquake, tarps arrived for many of our brothers.
2 days after the earthquake. We did it in 48 hours. We got some tarps. Only Jehovah's organization could produce tarps in as short a time period as 48 entire hours.
I also find it strange. The language that's going to be upcoming, I think reinforces sort of what I'm thinking here, because he's like, tarps arrived. Like, did you donate the tarps?
Yeah.
Did you ship the tarps? Like, what did you do with those tarps? They just arrived? They just materialized out of nowhere? Was it a worldly organization that delivered the tarps? Like, so many questions.
Amanda is on the ball here. I must go back. I must go back. I want to hear that again.
At approximately 130 of the homes where our brothers were living and damaged another 250. On Monday, August 16, 2 days after the earthquake, tarps arrived.
Yeah, he does say tarps arrived. He doesn't
just
say we
arrived.
sent tarps.
No.
Our tarps arrived. He
Yeah.
just says tarps
Tarps
arrived.
arrived.
So what, did you just find them? Did
And
you know?
if you look at the news, the BBC reported that the other disaster relief aid organizations were scrambling to try to get tarps and supplies to Haiti because it was desperately needed before the tropical storm Grace. So they had gotten the BBC report was literally released on August 16th, 2 days after the earthquake. So I'm just wondering how much Watchtower was skirting on the tailcoats of other organizations to make this relief effort happen. These tarps arrive.
Well, Jeremy DeGraff says tarps were supplied by the UN.
There
they
we go.
gave 180 million. Oh, the use of words is infuriating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They're so slimy with their... And this is the sort of stuff they accuse us of, by the way.
Yep.
They point the finger at us for this kind of trickery.
What are you talking about, Lloyd? It's not like they'd ever misquote you.
Yeah, directly, the legal department. Hi, guys, by the way, to the forensics team who are watching. Sorry for the fair use of your copyrighted content.
Sorry, not sorry.
For many of our brothers, just ahead of the rains of Tropical Storm Grace. Since then, we have distributed over 3 tons of supplies and 28 tons of food to our brothers. Tents, tarps, blankets, mattresses, water filtration kits, solar-powered flashlights, and solar chargers have been distributed.
They say have been distributed.
Yes, not donated, distributed. And they use the word donated later on in a specific context, not from them.
This is infuriating. I feel more maddened now that I'm watching it with you, Amanda. I shouldn't watch this stuff with you. You're bringing everything out in the wash. Okay.
Additionally, volunteers are working hard to evaluate and inspect the homes of our brothers.
They're working hard to fix the homes. No, to evaluate and inspect the homes of the brothers. That's odd. Well, either you're fixing the homes or you're not. You don't have to say working hard to. You cut out the working hard bit and just say brothers are evaluating and inspecting the homes.
Yeah, I mean, did they just bring a bunch of brothers in to just make this photo shoot so that they could show people measuring things?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure we saw a picture of that exact backpack that guy's wearing two clips ago or something. They just had a picture of just the backpack as part of the supplies that they were sending.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Don't mind me, impoverished Jehovah's Witness whose house has just collapsed. I'm just here to work hard to evaluate.
I've got this
what's
measuring
happening.
tape here.
I'm going to be working hard for the next few hours with my measuring tape, just evaluating, and just seeing what's what with my clipboard.
Here's a tarp. Here's a tarp for you.
Yeah, have a tarp. Oh God.
Although in difficult economic situations themselves, the local brothers in the capital of Port-au-Prince have generously donated
There's that word,
tons
donated.
of food.
What? Why? Excuse me. I wouldn't be proud of this. I wouldn't be proud of the fact that people who are already impoverished in Haiti. I know enough about Haiti to know that it's an impoverished country. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be proud saying, "Oh, we made them donate towards it."
Exactly. Especially when they just showed us this big Gilead graduation dinner that happened after the earthquake. They still went ahead with that nice catered dinner, even after the earthquake that happened on August 14th. They didn't go, you know what, brothers and sisters, we have better things to be spending this money. Let's sacrifice this wine and these things that we're going to have. Let's have like an average meal or whatever, like we would normally have. And let's give the excess to some of these relief efforts. Nope, not a chance.
I'm going to just carry on. It's too maddening.
Yeah.
The United States experienced Hurricane Ida, which made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane on August 29. The storm passed from the Gulf Coast to the Northeast. The branch office reports that as of September 20, 2,788 of our brothers who evacuated are not yet able to return to their homes. It is estimated to be several weeks before the power is restored in some areas.
Could you imagine if Stephen Lett actually read the news?
Yeah. Or experienced any of this himself.
He's talking about kind of utter devastation and, people's lives being turned upside down. And in this case, someone's sofa floating on floodwater. And he's doing it in this stupid voice.
Yes.
It's just completely, it's a total mismatch, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like he doesn't have any emotions going on inside of him. And he's just like, I don't know, trying to alter reality with his face.
'Cause I noticed someone commented earlier about this whole Stephen Lett's voice thing, and I have actually heard it from his niece, from Brandy, who's been on the channel twice now.
Yeah.
That he hasn't always spoken that way. This is a learned way of speaking that he has. And what's interesting is in the annual meeting, which I'm doing my prep for, because the annual meeting video leaked. Thanks, Watchtower. What's interesting is there's a really funny segment where they pat themselves on the back over COVID handling. And for parts of it, he's doing his pieces not pieces to camera, slightly off camera, but he's doing some of his interview pieces in this kind of melodramatic way, while other governing bodies are speaking more candidly. And then right at the end, it's almost like they were saying, actually, you know what, could you just talk normally for a little bit? And the last little bit that he does is he's speaking in a normal voice. It's so funny to see. And I'm looking forward to zeroing in on it for the rebuttal.
I'm excited to see that too.
Yeah.
The storm damaged over 1,800 homes of our brothers and destroyed 28 more. In addition, 58 kingdom halls and 4 assembly halls were damaged.
You see, we're talking about a God who is supposed to control the weather, a God who redirected a typhoon on the island of Yap to deliver sand
yes.
for a Kingdom Hall renovation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That was on a JW Broadcasting episode. 2013 annual meeting, Jeffrey Jackson boasts that due to an unusually mild summer, they were able to print more of the new 2013 New World Translation editions, and we thank Jehovah for that, were his words. Am I mistaken, Amanda, or am I looking now at a devastated Kingdom Hall that's been ruined because of the weather that Jehovah supposedly controls?
Absolutely. And even in this update, Stephen Lett, when he said, I just lost my train of thought. He mentioned that the tarps arrived 2 days ahead of the tropical storm, and that, like, there's been so much precedent for the governing body to say that Jehovah controls the weather, that like him just implying, oh, the tarps arrived 2 days before Tropical Storm Grace would trigger a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses to be like, Jehovah's hand. But then, like, where is Jehovah's hand when this kind of thing happens? You know,
It wouldn't surprise me if, you know how, like, the military use drones to kill people in other countries illegally. It wouldn't surprise me if they develop like an army of drones that can just head to a disaster area and just spit tarps out on the country just so they can say, we've already delivered tarps.
And take pictures while they're at it to make sure that they can...
Here are the tarps being parachuted down by the drone that we've deployed. Job done. They've got their tarps.
Can all go home.
Under the direction of the
There are
circuit
the tarps.
overseers, local brothers and sisters quickly began to stabilize hundreds of homes damaged by the storm.
What is he doing with
Two
that water?
disaster relief
I mean-
committees are providing tarps, materials, food, water, and generators when local supplies are exhausted. All of
Local
this
supplies from
activity
who?
is being carried.
Well, go on. Say that
No,
again.
no. He said that they give them all these supplies after local supplies have been exhausted, and I'm saying local supplies from who?
Yeah.
You know,
Do you mean from Satan's evil
Satan's system.
government?
Yeah.
Satan's system
providing
things.
tarps, materials, food, water, and generators when local supplies are exhausted. All of this activity is being carried out with proper safety standards and appropriate COVID.
We conditionally love you, brothers and sisters. If you stopped being brothers and sisters, we wouldn't love you, and actually we wouldn't be directing any aid or disaster relief towards you whatsoever.
We
But
wouldn't
while you're
be
brothers and
thinking about
sisters, we love you. Yeah.
Yeah.
As proved by these markings on a box.
COVID-19 precautions. We are grateful for the hard work of all who are helping with the relief efforts,
here it is.
including all of you who have contributed financially.
Ah.
Thank you for your generosity and kindness.
It really is incessant, isn't it? Because we had a dedicated talk at the Powerful by Faith convention asking for money. We had Tony Morris's 10-minute begging, not begging, talking about money.
Talking about money, yes.
Talking about money in the September broadcast. I think there's a new video that's just gone up where they're thanking people for donating, and which I think that's William Turner that presents that. And here we have Stephen Lett reading that in. Yeah.
And I'm almost wondering, did they catch wise to the fact that like directly asking for money looks really bad, and now they're just like, okay, we'll just circumvent asking for money and just like thank people for donating, and show a lot of hard up families and brothers and sisters and disasters and so forth, and all of the effort that Watchtower is making to help.
I guess my irritation with their entire approach to disasters is threefold. Number one, exploiting calamity for their propaganda purposes, which is what we've just seen. Number two, actually, I'm going to narrow it down to just two for the sake of time. And number two, the way they imply that they are gatekeepers for support and help, as though there's no possible way that you could navigate through a disaster, a natural disaster, unless you were part of God's one true organization on the earth. What on earth are you supposed to do if you're not a Jehovah's Witness in Haiti? And here's the problem. I'm living proof of the fact that you can deal with a disaster like the earthquake we had in at the end of December without any input at all from the organization. And interestingly, they did try. I think they did actually give some help to Deanna's parents, but we were like, we've got this, thanks, we're okay. It's almost like we've got to insert ourselves in this situation to make ourselves relevant and make ourselves important,
while completely ignoring any of the efforts from the world. I mean, he didn't even thank any of the other disaster relief organizations, even loosely, without naming them. He didn't say, we appreciate the efforts that he's just thanking the Brotherhood, right? And surely they couldn't have reached some of the hardest and the most hardest hit areas of Haiti, and also the most hard to access areas of Haiti, without some of the help from the government and other relief organizations. In fact, if you look at the other relief organizations' websites, they're talking about it being a government-led effort to restore, because there's gang violence right now in Haiti, and some of those gangs are like blocking off the roads where they need to get supplies to. So all of this has been like a big effort to try to get supplies to where they're needed. And Stephen Lett's not even paying attention to any of that. He's just like, oh, look what we did. We got tarps.
Yeah. Take a shot every time he says tarps. There's also the verse in in Matthew 6, verse 3, but you, when making gifts of mercy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Great point.
So that your gifts of mercy may be in secret.
Yeah.
Then your Father who looks on in secret will repay you. Where's that being applied in the organization's approach to disasters?
Yep.
Okay, let's proceed.
But now, let's discuss our 2022 year text.
Oh, yes, let's.
When the pandemic began, we had no idea it would still be of concern 1.5 years later.
More information that we just do not need in our heads.
Is that a low-key admission that they're not inspired? I mean, where was that back when Stephen Lett was talking about we're living in the final part of the final part of the last days?
That's why they didn't know that it would still be a concern a year and a half later, because as I recall, this very man, this very buffoon, got on camera and said we're now living in the last days, the final part of the last days of the last days.
Yes, that milk is really aging.
Yeah,
it's starting to smell bad.
That's probably why you weren't expecting this situation, Stephen Lett, because you thought Armageddon was imminent.
Yeah.
It has impacted the economy of many lands. As a result, people, including many of our brothers and sisters, do not have much materially. Some only have meager provisions, including a scarcity of food. It reminds us of faithful David of old. He was not being hounded by a deadly virus, but he was running and trying to hide from jealous King Saul, who was intent on killing David and those with him.
Yeah.
Provisions were low. There was very little to eat, and David lost his home for a time, hiding out in caves in the wilderness.
Such a weird comparison.
While things were very bleak materially, it was at this time that David composed the beautiful song recorded in Psalm 34.
I often compose
Was he
literature when I'm on the run for
from
my
his
life.
worship of
Right in
Jehovah?
the middle of an earthquake.
Was he gloomy and dejected during that difficult time? Well, let's read a few verses from Psalm 34 and see how David was regarding his attitude. Psalm 34, verse 1.
And he was writing this
I will
while the horse
praise
was galloping
Jehovah
away from Saul.
at all times. His praise will be on my lips
Kicking right at his heels.
constantly. And then in verse 3, he encouraged others to join him in praising Jehovah. Verse
Again.
3, David said,
How ridiculous would that be?
magnify Jehovah along with me. Let us exalt his name together. What a beautiful attitude, despite the hardships he was facing at the time.
It's amazing, isn't it? What hoops they will jump through to make obscure Bible texts somehow relevant to a pandemic in 2021, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and just how ridiculous would it look? I mean, you illustrated it already quite well. But like, how ridiculous would it look composing songs in the middle of an earthquake or getting people being like, we should praise God right now.
Yeah. A king is literally chasing me and trying to kill me, and now seems the right time to pen a few thoughts that have occurred to me during this life and death struggle that I find myself in.
So ridiculous.
Oh dear. Carry on.
So many of you, dear brothers and sisters, are struggling economically during this time of pandemic and uncertainty.
I'm sure the fact that they're dissuaded from higher education hasn't helped, to be fair. Because, you know, when people are getting laid off because companies are going bust due to the pandemic, you need all the help you can get, don't you, to stand out from the crowd when it comes to applying for work.
Absolutely.
And yet he is literally presiding over. It's not just the fact that he's a governing body member. Stephen Lett's on the teaching committee that's responsible for churning out video after video after video that denounces higher education. In fact, I've literally just today finished filming for the October rebuttal And even in the music video there, they have a little swipe at higher education.
God,
So
again.
he is actively making Jehovah's Witnesses poorer by
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
So he's not really in a very strong position to talk about how Jehovah's Witnesses are struggling financially due to the current economic uncertainty.
Yeah, and including a scarcity of food. Like, there was no scarcity of food at Bethel. We just saw that
Yeah.
earlier, you know?
Yeah.
Just
We're
so
okay,
much.
by the way. In case anyone's worried about whether we ate well for the Gilead supper, don't worry. Everyone had a blast, and there was wine, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, good grief.
But the governing body wanted me to share with you, especially verse 10 of Psalm 34. Verse 10, even strong young lions have been reduced to hunger, but those seeking Jehovah will lack nothing good.
You know what I thought when he read this scripture? Even strong young lions have been reduced to hunger. Do you remember in the Powerful by Faith convention, literally just this year, there was an entire talk by Robert Lucioni where he was obsessing over the verses about how Jehovah feeds the birds of the heaven and Jehovah feeds, what was it, blue
Oh, yes, blue whales.
blue whales. So he went to quite some lengths to to vividly point out that blue whales never go hungry because Jehovah feeds them. And yet we seem to have a conflicting verse here because the psalmist here is saying that strong young lions are going hungry. So who are we to believe? Are we to believe the psalmist, or are we to believe Jesus when he says that the birds get fed all the time?
Yeah, are we supposed to like believe that Jehovah's just a sadist? And he's like, well, screw the lions. We don't need
Yeah.
to feed them. Like, I don't. It's just
They really don't think about these contradictions, do
No,
they? They just
no.
kind of spit them out and
whatever
they don't.
suits them. That's
Yeah,
what they. That's
whatever
their
the
mantra.
message needs to be at any given point.
Yep.
The last part of that verse is the year text for 2022.
Oh,
Those seeking Jehovah will lack nothing good.
I'm actually disappointed that it didn't include the bit about the strong young lions. I think that would have been a far more impressive year text. But okay.
I think it's silly how they're. I mean, not silly. I think it's incredibly manipulative how they're tying this back to the whole because like those seeking Jehovah will lack nothing good, and this is surely him trying to tie it back to the scripture about him saying that they should not withhold anything good from those who deserve it. And I don't know. It's just. It just seems like a big manipulation of scriptures happening here. It's like a big circle jerk.
Yeah.
This update.
Psalm 34, verse 10. Now, obviously, as we've been discussing, David was not referring to an abundance of physical sustenance. We remember the 23rd Psalm where David said something similar. There he said, Jehovah is my shepherd, I will lack nothing. The rest of that psalm refers to spiritual blessings enjoyed, even though he admitted he walked, quote, in the valley of deep shadow. Throughout that psalm, he extols the spiritual blessings he enjoyed. He concluded by saying at Psalm 23:6, and I will dwell in the house of Jehovah for all my days. And that is the prayer of all of Jehovah's faithful servants in these critical times.
I think that's ultimately the message, isn't it? Whatever happens, no matter how impoverished you get, no matter how desperate you get, no matter what happens, please just stay a Jehovah's Witness. Please.
Please
We're
keep
begging
donating.
you. Keep donating, and please just stay with us. Stick it out, please. We kind of need you to follow us, please. Seems
Absolutely.
to be
That's the theme.
yeah. And he you can say it every which way, but that's for me what's coming across here.
Mm-hmm.
Dear friends, the coronavirus is not the worst trial to strike out at all mankind, and it won't be the last.
Oh,
We can expect things to deteriorate even further.
Do you think this harmonizes well with what he said at the beginning of the pandemic?
Or it's a bit of a contradiction here.
Do you think what we might be seeing here is like a total U-turn from the alarmist doomsday rhetoric that this very buffoon was coming out with right at the beginning?
A U-turn, never.
Seriously, if you put those two clips, which I would do if this was a normal rebuttal, I'd just put his initial words right next to these words, and they do stand in complete contrast, don't they?
Yep.
But
and I'm almost wondering if he misread from his teleprompter there, because he's like, this isn't the worst tragedy to happen to mankind, and it won't be the last. Did he mean first, or did he actually mean worse? I mean, I guess it does still make sense. It just seems a little strange. I almost wonder if that was a misread. Anyway.
As these last days march on to their end, economic hardship and other trials will come and go. But like the psalmist, we can agree that the 2022 year text will prove true, spiritually speaking. As Psalm 34:10 states, those seeking Jehovah.
it will prove true, asterisk, spiritually speaking. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, is that like the same way that, modern day miracles still happen, according to David Splain's explanation?
Well, spiritually speaking can mean anything, can't it? You can you can literally say anything and say, this will happen, I'm telling you, spiritually speaking.
Just like Jesus appeared invisibly.
You could reduce absolutely anything to with that sort of vagueness. It's so...
There's utility in vagueness. I think you've said it like a dozen times on this channel. There is utility in vagueness, and we see that all over this update.
Be as vague as possible, and say as little that you'll actually be held to or can be held to. Yep. Is what he's doing here. There's nothing that he's just said that he can actually be pinned down for saying something that's untrue until decades in the future when he'll be dead anyway. You know.
Will lack nothing good. Dear brothers and sisters, we truly and deeply love you all.
He reads from the
very
teleprompter.
Much. From the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses.
He loves this line, doesn't he?
This is JW Broadcasting.
He didn't practice that a few times in the mirror.
No. He's kind of let on, hasn't he, in previous talks that he really likes doing that line.
Oh, yeah. Sure has.
So that's kind of all we have to say. I think we've said quite a bit, but I'm mindful of the fact that some will have other things to say. And let me see if I can... shall we do like a brief viewer invasion?
I think that we can do that.
That might be nice. So I'm going to bring up the banner first of all, because the banner includes important information. So we ask that you show your camera. This is just to a precaution against trolls, and also keep comments and questions respectful and on topic. I am going to drop a link in the private chat, and if you are happy with those requirements, those regulations, feel free to join the live stream, and we'll try to take a handful of comments. But I do kind of want to. It's been a long day, and I want to get to my pink gin.
I feel that.
Yeah, but it would be nice to get just a few comments on what we've seen. And
surely people want to weigh in on everybody's favorite face.
Stephen Lett is people are gonna have opinions, I feel, on Stephen Lett, and there are currently 727 watching. We're streaming on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube today. So we already have a very impressive beard joining us, attached to an even more impressive man, Martin. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Lloyd and companion there.
What did you think of the governing body update number 8?
it was really interesting to see how um, how they keep discouraging higher education. But the fact is that during this pandemic, the people who have been able to stay employed are people with higher education, people who work in technical fields like myself. I'm actually working from my car and taking my break, and I thought, hey, let me listen to this.
I'm in IT too. Work from home.
Keep up the good work. I really enjoy your videos, and I hope someday I can help some of my friends with Steel J in the JW.org.
Thank you, and thank you for that really good comment. It's true. I mean, you know, it's all very well to bemoan the current financial uncertainty, but when you're actively involving yourself in making Jehovah's Witnesses poorer by turning them away from higher education, and you have some culpability, don't you? So thank you for those thoughts, Martin. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. So that was Martin. And we're also joined by friend of the channel, Vincent DePorter. How are you, sir?
Hi, Vincent.
Hello, guys. Great.
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
So, oh yeah, it's so funny. I commented in the comments. I said, "Don't ask for donations. Thank the ones donating, so the others can feel guilty."
That's exactly it.
They don't have to ask anymore. They just have to.
Oh.
Did we lose Vincent?
I think Vincent might have frozen.
Oh.
We just lost you for a moment there, Vincent. Can you back up a little bit?
I came back. It's my second coming. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to me. As you know, I used to have Lett as the CEO of our congregation, and I went preaching with him, and I do agree with his was it his daughter? Was it his daughter that you interviewed?
Yes. No, yes. Sorry, it was his niece.
His niece. Yeah. I do agree that he doesn't talk like that. He never talks like that in real life. What is this with the happy kind of, you know, like it's like I always see a clown when I see him do that, and he wasn't like that in real life. So there's something weird. Is it the teleprompter? I don't know. As you can see, I don't have a teleprompter.
I think it's a persona that he has he's taken on, and it's really strange. I think again it's very telling that in the annual meeting you get the contrast between him speaking that way and him speaking a little bit more normally, and what happens is the voice just drops a few octaves almost. And he speaks deeper and more authentically. It's fascinating to see. Yeah,
very slowly, and he does exaggerated gestures and facial expressions. It's not the one I used to know as a CEO of the congregation, but it's just the same old story, right? It's let's ignore what the world gives us. It's all about us getting the help to others. It's just there's nothing much to say, actually. I just want to say hi to you guys.
I'm glad you joined.
That's as good a reason as I need. It's really lovely. Always a pleasure to see you, Vincent. And again, I'm hoping we can have a longer chat on the channel soon. So
whenever it's possible, no problem.
Okay,
love
take care, mate.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for your input.
See ya. So that was Vincent. We now I'm sorry I'm having to kind of do all this without producer Bob, but hopefully we'll get through a few more before we do a wrap on the show. By the way, I'm really sorry to say I'm going to have to kind of just kick off people who aren't turning on their cameras. So bizarrely, despite literally reminding people on the text that's scrolling across the screen, there are some people who are trying to join without their cameras, and we have to.
Maybe tech issues.
It could be, but in some cases, I've kind of removed them because I'm trying to allow space for people to join, and they keep trying to come back on without their camera. I need your cameras to be turned on to prove that you have a camera, So let's be joined by 39. How are you, mate?
Hey, Amanda. Hey, Lloyd.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. It looks like there's stuff going on there.
Oh yeah, we're packing up some bread.
Ah,
so,
really?
Yeah, I do baking. So
cool.
Yeah, I'm often when I've jumped on your live streams, I've been like in the kitchen here. You know, we got like a little studio set up in the front to where we do like a little bit of like editing and stuff like that too. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So is the bread just like the business that you're doing, or?
Yeah,
Like
so like we have like a small business to where we make bread and we deliver it to people, like door-to-door delivery. And then we also have like a little storefront to where, look, I can even like show you guys. Yeah, we got a little storefront over here to where we got a little bit of
neat.
production stuff, and we do little screenings and stuff like that for movies. And then we got like some art and stuff that we be selling at different events and stuff like that. So
excellent.
yeah.
And what did you think about the governing body update video?
You know, pretty much what I expected. I didn't expect that Stephen Lett was going to really start, spitting off statistics and stuff. Like you said, like where are the statistics on the blood transfusion thing? You know what I mean? Like, why don't we get all the statistics about, Jehovah's Witnesses dying, or how many people, die from suicide, for instance? You know, why can't we see those statistics?
Yeah, when is it ever loving to withhold facts?
yeah, exactly. And, the whole, the situation with the disaster relief, it's like, they're always looking for something to happen so they can use it as a little publicity stunt. But then recently she was in the last live stream that I jumped on. She came on right before me. Her name was Carrie, and she's actually from Seattle too. I'm in Seattle, Washington. And she told me the whole story about essentially how we met up and I interviewed her, but she was telling us about how little support she had when she was going through poverty. And she ended up homeless because when she went to an elder and she was like, I'm having financial troubles, he said, when a sister's destitute, we just kind of usher them towards the welfare office, because they don't even provide a food bank. You know what I mean? They don't have any kind of shelter or anything. There's no, and we really went in on like how are you guys providing any kind of service to the community? If you're a church and you're getting tax exemptions, but outside of the organization, I mean, they're looking for little publicity stunts, but they don't provide any services to people, not even their own members.
Yeah. Meanwhile, disparaging of the world making those efforts, because the world does set up women's shelters and services and so forth, right? But not
exactly. Like even Catholics, they have, Catholic community services. And I mean, I'm not trying to promote Catholicism, but most churches have food banks at the least, and clothing banks and stuff like that, clothing drives. Yeah, soup kitchens. Jehovah's Witnesses, you go up there and the only service they provide you is like giving you propaganda.
Yeah.
So
I already showed or quoted from the verse about let your left hand not know what your right hand is doing. There's also the verse in Matthew 5:46 and 47, which I've read on the channel before. For if you love those loving you, what reward do you have? Are not also the tax collectors doing the same thing? And if you greet your brothers only, what extraordinary thing are you doing? Are not also the people of the nations doing the same thing? There's nothing to be proud of in just looking after your own group. It's totally expected. Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for that observation. I really appreciate it. And good luck with the bread baking.
Dope. Also, could I drop my channel? Could I name drop my channel on your stream? Is that impolite? I don't know how else to promote myself.
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So it's Crossroads Circle, and in the next few weeks, we're gonna drop that interview with Carrie. It's gonna be called God. It slipped my mind for a second. I think we're calling it the Preaching to Poverty Pipeline. And we're also doing we're dropping a video about Brother Brown in the Bunker series.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're dropping a little Brother Brown video, so stay tuned for that, I guess.
Nice. I'll definitely check it out.
Well, good luck with all of your endeavors, and please join us for a future viewer invasion. Okay.
Yep, always. Stay safe. Take care.
See ya. That was 39. And we also have joining us now Martin. Lovely to see you, Martin. Friend of the
Hello.
channel.
Yes, thank you.
As
Congratulations
featured on a recent Vice documentary, no less.
Yes, thanks. Yeah. Congratulations on 10 years of activism.
Thank you, Martin. That's very kind of you to say.
6 years ago, my wife showed me your first video. It was October of 2015. And, I was an elder, service overseer, and my wife got her master's, and now she's directing a assisted living facility. So our lives have changed a lot since that 6-year video, but I want to thank you.
Wow. Oh, an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that, that you've had some help in some way. So thank you. And what did you think about the governing body update?
So 2 things. First thing was the living in America, the biggest anti-vax movement is basically the churches, a lot of the evangelical churches. And what I thought was very confusing was last week or 2 weeks ago, the mayor of New York City shout out Jehovah's Witnesses, their 99% vaccination rate, but they're not in New York City anymore. They moved out of the state. He has nothing to do with that. I know there's a lot of pushback from the Jewish communities in New York City about not getting vaccinated, the Orthodox. I just thought that was very confusing. So why does Watchtower love the media when it benefits them, but they run away, hide in buildings when the media is coming after them? I just thought that was, why would you go after, get praise from the mayor of New York City that you have nothing to do with? And the second point was, what I'm concerned is, well, I'm not concerned, I'm actually happy. Watchtower should be concerned, is the fact that, starting in 2015 with the LDC arrangement, I've been seeing so many PMO elders who have noticed there's a lot of more, how can I say it politely, anger and angst in the elder bodies because of the way the governing body has been treating them lately, especially with the vaccine letter that just came out a few weeks ago. And I really think that you're going to see more elders wake up with this rhetoric because, again, they festered this anti-vax movement for the past 100 years. My dad has been an elder for 50 years. As far as I know, he's still an elder. He's never gotten a vaccine, but luckily my mom had me get vaccines, and my brother and sister. So I just thought that was really interesting. It's like a dichotomy of the Watchtower. They want to praise the media, but they want to attack the media, and also, they might have an elder revolt, at some time. One quick story, and I'll get off. But thank you again. My dad tells a story of being in Brooklyn, Bethel in the 60s when the 3 Freds who were Bethel elders who revolted against the conditions under Nathan Noor, and how they were all kicked out. And my dad said Nathan Noor was right; he was there. But there's been pushback from the society for many years, and they might be a reckoning down the future. I don't know. I'm hoping though. But thank you.
No, that's a really valid point, and goodness knows. I was saying earlier, we had a Zoom call with patrons, and I was saying how I can see myself writing a book at some point. How COVID-19 changed the Jehovah's Witness religion forever. I feel as though they've been completely blindsided by this pandemic, and what we're going to be left with once the pandemic is finally over could be unrecognizable from how the religion was in 2019. So yeah, for all sorts of reasons that are probably would have been difficult to foresee, including this whole anti-vax thing. Who knew there was such a strong anti-vax sentiment among Jehovah's Witnesses? But isn't it sort of predictable when you look at the fact that the organization has itself been anti-vax in the past, and also has promoted this scientifically illiterate science denialism throughout not just its history, but also its present as well? And isn't that kind of the perfect storm for what we're seeing?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, they were doing that even in this update.
Yeah. So
it's just facts. They have
is.
to share those facts.
Absolutely. Martin, lovely to see you.
Thank
And
you
I
very
really
much.
hope
Thank
we
you
can
very
get you
much.
back on the channel again
Okay.
soon, okay?
Anytime.
Okay.
Have a great
thanks
day.
so
Take care.
much.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
We're kind of running out of time, but I'm hoping to take just a couple more. Welcome to Andrea Souza. How are you?
Hi! Oh my God! I'm doing it.
Just going to turn the volume down on my headphones. How are you?
I'm sorry, Lord.
I like
That's
that
okay.
enthusiasm.
I'm fine. It's because this week I had my meeting with the elders, so now my family is going to start shunning me. Super cool.
Oh.
My sister sent me horrible messages, but well,
Oh no.
it's yeah, I know. It's like a shitty situation, but I'm doing. I'm going to a psychologist so I
Good.
can deal with that. I have my boyfriend, I have friends, I have
Good.
you guys. I really want to thank you, Lloyd, for everything you're doing. I created the channel on YouTube, and
Yes.
the name of my channel is for Brazilian Portuguese because we don't have a
Oh,
lot of
nice.
Oh,
information
Good.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
good.
Please do share it.
about Jehovah Witnesses. I got inspiration from many of your videos, and the name of my channel is Freedom is My Paradise,
Aw,
in honor of you.
love it.
Yes, so
That's
I'm
brilliant. No,
That's
I
good.
happen to know that the Brazilian Portuguese speaking ex-JW community. I mean, I know there are some channels, but there's always going to be, an appetite for that kind of content. So I'm really, really glad that you're launching yourself straight into activism, especially in that particular language, which is so underserved. So well done. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm trying to put some information like history and this kind of the things. And about just one thing about the broadcasting is that I was thinking this week that even the Catholic Church, and we can talk a lot of things about Catholic Church, they have a lot of problems, but even then, sometimes they have famous priests that defend minorities. In Brazil right now, for example, we have Julio Lancelotti. He treats and helps transgender people that live in very bad situation. But we never had someone like that. There is a Jehovah Witness. I'm not aware of anyone. There's a Jehovah Witness there who is in history for doing good things. Anything in this religion is about serving the organization and being selfish and give conditioned love to people and pretend you really love them. So it's pretty sad.
Absolutely. The conditional love aspect is kind of the elephant in the room, isn't it? Whenever you're watching this sort of material, it's all about, what do you believe? If you share our beliefs, we're willing to help. If you don't, then you frankly don't exist and you're irrelevant to the conversation. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Unless we're knocking on your door in the ministry, and then we care again.
then we care. Oh, don't start me, Amanda, because I don't want to kind of give too many spoilers for the
I can't wait for the meeting.
for the October JW broadcasting episode. But there's a really funny part called Iron Sharpens Iron. The inaugural episode for which is hosted by a really funny name, Taylor Bornshine.
Bornshine.
It sounds like a made-up name, but I think that's his actual
It sounds
name.
like a floor cleaner.
And he's literally schooling Jehovah's Witnesses on how to feign interest, in how to pretend to care.
Wow.
Here's how you start conversations. As long as you start conversations, that's the goal. If you can use those conversations to witness, even better. And then they have demonstrations with two conveniently attractive sisters who are literally in the right presentation, because there's a right one and a wrong one, but in the right one, she's pretending to care about this supposedly worldly person she's encountered in the store. So it's so fake, isn't it? And it's so obviously manipulative when you're pretending to care about someone just because you want to recruit them.
It's getting worse, huh? Because I mean, with the videos and everything, it's like much. They don't have shame anymore in those things, because in the publications was a picture, but now they put a very sad, cheesy song in the background. Then it's very manipulative. It's terrible. Like they're getting worse every day.
Absolutely. But good luck with your channel. Freedom is My Paradise, I understand this is the name, and is that the actual name as it appears on YouTube?
The name is TJ, that is Testemunha de Jehovah in Portuguese, the abbreviation. ex-TJ, Liberdade é o meu paraíso.
Fantastic. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for starting that channel,
you,
and
guys.
may you have much success, and I hope you can join us for a future viewer invasion.
Sure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Andrea. Oh, cut Andrea off a little bit abruptly there. Apologies.
We saw the wave.
And we have time. The clock's running down here at the bunker. after a long day of activism. But we do have time for just one more, and that is Daniel Edgardo. Welcome, Daniel.
Hello. Hey, how's it going? Can you listen to me all right?
We
I can hear you. Yeah. How are you doing?
Nice. Greetings from Chile, by the way.
Oh, neat.
Oh, Chile. Fantastic.
Yeah, and that's something that I'd like to talk about. I have some topics that I would go quickly on him because I understand the topic of time.
Well, as
First-
long as it's to do with the
it's with
governing
the
body.
topic.
Yeah, okay.
Don't worry
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
Sure.
I had watched the update on advance, and something that I thought was nice was Stephen Lett saying that, hey, despite him saying vaccines are optional, please do them. That's the underlying message. But at the same time, I think, hey, on the one hand, you're making this like, hey, it's your choice, and not like it's your responsibility to get vaccinated. It's something you should do. And on the other hand, I thought that you mentioned it before, that this has been mandatory inside Bethel and for elders, because I've seen information on Twitter that some elders have been deleted for saying things against vaccinations from the platform. Another topic that I wanted to mention that has been mentioned already is that how are you saying that you're doing charitable work when you're just doing it for yourselves and not for other people?
Yeah.
And the third thing that I had like prepared already is that I also saw something on Reddit that this pushing the vaccines is going to ruffle some feathers, especially in the US, because as you two have said, this is more of a polarizing topic there. Here in Chile, I've heard some elderly sisters who are not shunning me because they know me from a really young age. I had that luck. That, hey, I was on the fence about this, but now that we're going to be able to go to the meetings again, I got my vaccines, But I thought somebody said that this would elicit an schism there from those who are in favor of vaccinations and those who are against. And also about this, I'm reading this book called Anti-Intellectualism in American Life. It's really good, and this book goes on how is it that not only Jehovah's Witnesses but many Christian denominations there in the United States. It's not unique to the United States.
No, it's not just the United States. I can
No,
tell you,
not at all.
it's
Not at
here.
all.
There's a strong anti-vaxxer movement here in Croatia as well. We're having issues with in our local village, quite frankly. So it's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing of privileging ignorance, that it is more pure. That's so bad, and also pretending that all this is coming from God, from Jehovah, when they're just making it along. As you said, this is going to change so many things. And how do we pretend that we're on top of this? How do we lie and make them all believe, hey, we are on top of this, and there's no need to worry, and so on. So, yeah,
Nothing
those
to
are my
see here,
thoughts.
folks. Yeah. No, very, very true. And you've kind of nicely summed up, a lot of what we said. They have a massive problem, it seems, with convincing a significant percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses to take the vaccine. And this is really, this is the bed that they've made that they need to lie in, because it's all of their doing. I mean, when you can actually come up with maybe a dozen quotes from past literature condemning vaccines, and when you have this underlying kind of attitude of we know better than scientists in all of these different areas, what on earth do you expect to happen? So it's inevitable.
And also considering that, and ignoring like the distant past, and with they say, hey, vaccines are bad. In the recent past, with this few updates, like Tony Moore is saying, we have nothing to worry about this, and then what's it called? Samuel Hurt saying, this topic is, I don't remember the words, but this is your choice. And now Stephen Lett very underlyingly saying you should get vaccinated. It's it's a really bad bet to lie
And
on.
you think if they were blessed by, you know, the Almighty, they wouldn't have to be so underhanded with their language choices and the way they choose to tell
Yeah.
people to do things. It's just, yeah.
It would
Absolutely.
be way better to say, hey, you should vaccinate. Despite what you have said in the past, we should correct this from now on. Vaccines are good. It's good for
Yeah.
you and good for your own brothers and sisters.
Which they've sort of said to Bethelites, but it seems a different rule applies for the rank and file.
That's the issue. This
Yeah.
information that you should vaccinate is from our very core group. Screw all everybody else.
Yeah,
And even
you're not
screw
part of the
people
channel.
from the outside.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great points there, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do consider joining for a future viewer invasion if you can.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Hope you
Okay.
have a nice
Daniel,
day.
take care.
And have a great rest of your weekend in Chile. Okay.
Oh, thank you. You too. You
See
too.
ya. So that was Daniel, and wow, what a great viewer invasion. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. Sorry we couldn't take more, but again, long day here in the bunker, and I'm
Love
looking
the viewer
forward to it.
invasions.
They're brilliant, aren't they? And you know, considering none of it is scripted, none of it's planned, it's literally just a first come first served deal. I think, you know, the quality of, frankly, it speaks to how great my subscribers are. I hate to make this about me and my channel, but I've kind of got some awesome subscribers. I hate to say it, but it's true.
Yeah.
And I've had an awesome co-host for this show. Thank you so much, Amanda. You've been hilarious, quite frankly, and I've really enjoyed your
I've had a
comments.
blast. It's been a lot of fun.
Okay. So viewers, that's all we have time for. Don't forget, you can watch similar videos by subscribing to the Lloyd Evans channel. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Take care.